Hey Kara, Christina here. I decided to use a vlogging sort of format again to do my final reflection since we both liked my previous vlog that I had done earlier in the semester for Reflection 2. So to prepare for this vlog, what I did was go through the midterm chart and look back at what I had written and what we had talked about and then see areas that I've grown. So I'm excited to talk through some of those ways and kind of use the same chart to kind of talk you through some of those things. So, as far as feedback, what have I gotten from you? What have I gotten from my peers? And what have I given? From you so far, I've gotten feedback on my tech set that I did with Laura, as well as my reading apprenticeship, and I got very positive feedback on both of those assignments. My tech set was quite successful, which made me feel pretty good. I feel like it would definitely be something that I could take and use in a classroom or even in an interdisciplinary situation in the future. So I was very proud of those, and I'm looking back forward to getting feedback on my literacy lesson plan in PA3. And then I've also gotten informal feedback via email and the different meetings that we've had, so I just really appreciate that support. It's definitely been encouraging throughout the semester. Kelly and I gave each other a lot of feedback on our PA3s as we were kind of working through the drafting process. It was a great experience of giving, but also taking constructive criticism. For instance, at those moments when I was just feeling kind of overwhelmed with my own thoughts of like, oh my gosh, this is just so much to think about, Kelly would be just like, it's all right, it's all good, it's going to be fine, and she would help me simplify the complex ideas that I was thinking in my head and just couldn't quite get out on paper yet. And then in a similar way, I was able to help identify ways that she could extend her thinking or maybe take hers to the next step. So it was definitely a good partnership and was definitely a growing experience to work with her and help each other through the PA3, which was a big assignment. In terms of participation, I'm going to work through those specific categories. As far as attendance throughout the whole semester, I haven't missed or been late to a class, which I think that's like a first. I at least usually miss like one, so that's pretty cool that I haven't been late or missed anything. And I've also been very timely with all of my assignment, of course, except for that one pesky first reflection that I turned in a few hours late. One of the goals that I'd set at midterm was to not have any more slip-ups with missed work or late work, and I have met this goal. I have not had any, and I've also done a really good job of turning in assignments early at every possible opportunity. So the literacy lesson plan and PA3 both were turned in at least a week early, and that was nice to get those assignments off my chest and move forward. So that was definitely a good feeling. And then with readiness, I've really enjoyed practicing my own literacy skills with the literacy strategies, the split page notes, coming up with the different questions for our Right to Literacy text, and then also interacting with Broadening the Lens. It's definitely been some cool activating and connecting experiences in Broadening the Lens. In Another goal that I set at midterm was to find that balance between actively participating in class as a thoughtful sort of participant and then dominating the conversation. And we talked about how I was sort of self-conscious and didn't want to kind of overtake or overstep the boundaries with being a respectful participant. So since then, I've been practicing a couple of different strategies to help me with this. During one of the discussions, I was actually I assumed the role where I was keeping track of the discussion, who was doing what, who wasn't participating, who was, how could we better include everyone, and I've been using that strategy on my own even now to sort of give my mind something else to do except sit and spin during discussions, and that has been really cool because then I have found even framing my thoughts as questions or taking the stream of consciousness sort of notes where I just let my internal processes of the information just kind of blurb out on a page, and then that's even led to some cool connections between my different thoughts, and those have been great to then bring to the table and feel confident that my contributions were as meaningful as they could possibly be. And so I definitely think that I've been a thoughtful participant in our class discussions and have really enjoyed growing in that way. It's definitely been a professional growth moment in the semester. Okay, so in terms of excellence in my work, I've really um, enjoyed working with and thinking through the term of citizen scholar, because to me that implies that I'm making connections between what we're learning in class, how it applies to my life right now, how it applies to my future career, and preparing and using that and transferring that knowledge. And it also implies that this learning is a continuous process of growth. And so I think that, especially my lesson plan that I revised for the PA3, I took a lesson plan that I had already written that I thought was pretty decent and thought about, okay, how would this look in the class that I'm working with right now? How is this going to look with my class in the future? And infuse those different strategies into the lesson to really better it. And so I'm definitely proud of that work. I think that turned out really excellent. I thought it was good before, and I think it's great now, and I'm excited to take that into the classroom someday. I also think in my literacy lesson that I did, my other one, I adapted the activities that were in Broadening the Lens and was very specific to make sure that I had all of the different categories I needed to have in that lesson plan, and then adapted that to what my students at Olympia were learning, which happened to be the introduction to Of Mice and Men, which was a new challenge for me. I'd never read that text. So that was a really cool experience to take those different pieces of a text that I've never read with activities that are just sort of out there and kind of mesh those together and think of how they work together to help my students learn. So I know that I'm going to be able to take this into the future with me, because while I was at an IEA conference last weekend, I went to a session on close and careful reading and was actually able to use some of the strategies to talk through different ways that we facilitate close reading in our own classrooms, and that was cool. So I've already begun transferring that information into other contexts, and I could definitely see myself taking this literacy lesson plan into a job interview or definitely into future classrooms. So I'm very proud of that work that I did. I love designing lessons that are actually useful, that are going to help me when I get out into the world. So group membership, that was another big goal that I had for myself of the semester, was making sure that I was being the most productive team member that I could be. And after the initial kerfuffle with Laura and the TechSet project, we ended up working really well together and spent a long night in the library together, proofreading and revising each other's work, and ended up really bettering each other's work. And that, in order to do that, that took a moment where we recognized, okay, we do have these content differences. We have this idea, there are these two different ideas of what our text set should look like, and being okay with that. Saying, okay, this is real, these differences are real, but how can we work around this? How can we deal with this conflict of opinions in a professional way that's going to help us pool our collective knowledge about literacy and pool our collective enthusiasm, because we're both very passionate about our content areas, in order to produce something incredible for our future students. And I definitely think that we were successful in that. The text set that we ended up with was a good balance between what I was thinking of and what she was thinking of, and that took growth on both of our parts, I think, in order to kind of put those differences aside and say, okay, but where are the similarities? Where can we work together to create this great work for our students? Now I'm in another group situation with a lot more confidence that I went into the situation with Laura with. I'm working with my team on our final presentation, and I've contributed ideas to that and also enacted the ideas that we came with as a whole. For example, we're planning on having one Prezi presentation where the slides kind of move along through our different classrooms for our presentation, so I won't give you any more information for that and spoil it. But anyway, I'm combining the different Prezi presentations that were coming up on our own into one collective one that we can use during our presentation. I've also definitely learned to open my ears a lot in group situations. For example, when we first started working on our final presentation, Katie said, me and Kelly put out an idea, hey, let's just make this simple and do the interviewing idea that you had mentioned in class of just sitting down and saying, okay, here's an interview, now let me show you this literacy strategy. We thought about doing that, and Katie said, no, that's so boring, like we can do better than that. And allowing her to push me as a group mate was a great a great thing. We came up with an active or a situation, a context for our presentation that is a lot more creative and a lot more fitting for our group and our content area. So opening up my ears and listening a lot in group situation has been a good moment of professional growth. So I definitely think I met that goal of continuing to grow as a teammate and a co-teacher since we talked at midterms. So those are my goals. That's how I've grown. I'm definitely proud of the work that I've done in this class, and I think as a whole I've demonstrated excellent, timely, prepared material, and I think I've earned an A. So I hope you agree, and I hope you liked my blog. Talk to you later.